So, we return to our young hero as he is in the belly of the beast, as it were. Now, the obvious problem that we're dealing with here is that of biology. Now, I am not any kind of biological expert, particularly when it comes to marine biology. And so, trying to bring in real-world science into this probably isn't going to make much sense anywho. He's also supposed to be a patron deity. Whether or not he is or just a big fish is a completely different question entirely. And it's probably best if we don't think about that too hard. That being said, having the Octoroks in here, I don't think makes too much sense, because any live thing, you would assume Jabu-Jabu is eating to digest. And so, the things that Link would have to be dealing with would be biological constructs. So, for example, as he's first getting in here, he's trying to figure out how to move on. Must solve the puzzle. Okay, then. Trying to figure out a similar situation to the Deku Tree. Well, yes. I mean, when we get past this, we'll begin to see that things are obviously not well. Link is not a marine biologist either, so he's not going to be able to look in here and be like, judging by the color of this cheek, inner mouth, and the teeth, I think Jabu-Jabu is suffering from an infection. No, so initially it's just okay, I'm dealing with I am in an animal, what am I going to do? Starts, like, trying to hack at this thing. It's not working. It's probably too hard. I don't think in this case Link would actually be the one to hit it. Instead, Navi would be flittering around and just kind of tickling the uvula. Tickling the uvula, which causes some shuddering in Jabu-Jabu, and then the sphincter opens. Yes, I just used the word sphincter. There's no good way to track an actual... Wrong button. An actual route through here because, you know, he's a fish. He's a big old fish. You're not going to have a lot of floors when it comes to a fish. It's a relatively straight track, even with, you know, winding ins and outs. So, obviously, magical things, we can make it. The other option, perhaps, would be to have... Well, we are going to be seeing it. Basically, giant ulcers. And so at first, Link is going around wondering what is going on when Navi points out this thing, preventing Link from getting electrocuted. And initially the thought is this something that is supposed to, like, digest things? Is it a defense mechanism? Navi is willing to get in close to take another look at them. kind of hovering around, examining it. What is this doing here? Why? Is this for some unique purpose? And while she is... Ow. Would you stop? That's funny. When she says that out loud, the response is, those aren't from Jabu-Jabu. And they turn and they see this young Ruto girl standing there. And Navi would fly over and say, "Oh, hello, are you Princess Ruto?" "Yes, I am Ruto, Princess of the Zoras. But who are you? And what are you doing inside Lord Jabu-Jabu?" I can see the immediate response is, "What are we doing here? What are you doing here?" "What I'm doing here is none of your business." Now, in this case, we did not have Jabu-Jabu asking Link to come save her, but it would be a, well, your father is worried about you. Which I believe that comes a little later. Who? Because we're rearranging the text here to make things make sense with what we've already talked about. So, what are we doing here? We could ask you the same thing. What are you doing inside Lord Jabu-Jabu? What I am doing here is none of your business. Now, you, however, are intruding on a very sacred place of the Zoras. Explain yourselves. Well, okay, that's how it goes. So Navi would start out with, well, we found this letter in a bottle. What letter in a bottle? See, now this is interesting. Why would Ruto send out this letter? It's in her handwriting. Because there's no other way that King Zora would take it at face value. He recognizes his own daughter's handwriting. So instead of "I have no idea what you're talking about," okay, I'm going to take some inspiration here. I'm going to take some inspiration from Breath of the Wild. In Breath of the Wild... Yeah, but why would she be denying it? What's the point of her denying it? At this point, we know nothing about her. Why send out a letter and then asking for help and then immediately deny that she was asking for help? Obviously, she's a tsundere. We understand that. But we only understand that because we have everything after this encounter to say, oh yeah, that's what she is. So, we're going to take some inspiration from Breath of the Wild. There is a side quest where a young Zora pushes a letter in a container that you follow and track to a Hylian man. And they eventually become a couple. So, we would get perhaps like an internal monologue here. If that letter in a bottle sent out to like your destined person or something is a tradition that has long been like some kind of old wives' tale or folk tale in the Zora tradition. It could be like letter in a bottle, and then cut to her internal monologue is, oh my gosh, it actually worked. It actually worked. Someone actually came to me. And then she starts looking at Link in a different light. As she starts looking him over and seeing, like, actually, like, examining him as a, is this the one I am destined to be with? Because this is the folktale that we're talking about. And how tsundere do we want her to get immediately? Maybe, well, probably outright denial first. So maybe not full tsundere, but an actual dismissal. So she looks him over and will say at the outset that she's not impressed. And so that's why she denies it, because surely her destined lover or, you know, husband or whatever would be a lot more impressive looking than this boy. Yes, she is also a child, but this is... This is her fantasy of her, you know, knight in shining armor coming to sweep her off her feet. Overactive imagination and all that. And this is what she gets instead. She's not happy about it. And so that's why she denies that she ever sent a letter in the first place. And then Navi would be like, but we gave it to the king and he seemed pretty convinced. I don't know what you're talking about. Please, if I were to send out a bottle, I'm sure that it would be able to get into someone, go into someone who's more capable of dealing with this situation. Well, they're trying, but... And then eventually that conversation will lead to, father doesn't know, father is worried about me. Well, it doesn't matter whether or not she thinks that her dad doesn't know that she's there, because the letter itself says that she is in Jabu-Jabu. So... So, somewhere around in this conversation, Link finally gets a little impatient. Says, well, it doesn't matter. We need to get you out of here. This is ridiculous. And I could see a little bit of a scuffle. So instead of Ruto walking off and falling, there's going to be a little bit of a wrestle between the two. And so the both of them fall into the hole at the same time. So with both of them falling at the same time, they have to, like, get up. They have to kind of get an idea of their surroundings. And then Ruto's like, oh no, now I'll never find it. Find what? That's none of your business. But now she's looking around and seeing that she really has no idea what's going on, where she is anymore. The conversation about going inside Jabu-Jabu's belly would come a little bit later. But essentially, Ruto recognizes that these jellyfish are here, the strange holes, and the fact that Jabu-Jabu does not look good. So, instead of Link being super persistent, Ruto instead kind of... Well, we have no other choice. Let's travel together, safety in numbers, etc. However, she will not leave until she finds what she is looking for. So, this carrying thing that we are doing, that's mostly just for the game mechanics. I think in terms of the story, Ruto would walk herself. And it's during this time together that Link learns a couple of things. About Ruto. One is that she is very capable of navigating the interior of Jabu-Jabu. So she would, for example, point out the little spots that would cause more water to come in, things like that. I'm gonna grab you. Well, I would grab you if you would get back here. Thank you. And we need to have something else to indicate that she is familiar with interacting with the water spirits. Which might just kind of happen in the course of working with whatever fluids happen to be in Jabu-Jabu, because it's not going to be just water in here. There's got to be some kind of digestive juices and whatnot. But perhaps Ruto could then make them safe to walk in or even swim through. In fact, I have an idea on how to illustrate that even a little bit better. But that's going to have to come until the next room that we get to. Not this one, but the next one. We need to take care of this one first. I don't think this is necessarily where we would get the boomerang. Which actually, though, that is a good question of where we would get a boomerang. And my thought would be from Ruto herself. So while Link is seeing that Ruto has an idea of how Jabu-Jabu functions and all of this stuff, Ruto is getting an opportunity to see Link being a competent adventurer. Why would she have one? I'll get to that in just a second. I need to show what my thought was in terms of showing Ruto's competence herself. So she sees Link doing stuff. You all get to see me banning a bot. running Ombre is running out of the chat room. Ow. But there comes a point where as they are traveling together, they get separated by one of these sphincters. This tentacle would not necessarily be here, but basically Link is trying to get back to the other side. And he hears that there is conflict happening. Maybe they were being chased by some creatures. They were running, they get separated. Link is trying to open the sphincter back up. The fact that I get to say sphincter these many times. He's running around trying to find something. Meanwhile, he's hearing sounds of conflict happening in the other back where they were. And finally, he gets back and he sees that Ruto is just standing there with a lot of dead jellyfish and whatnot hanging around. And she is holding the boomerang. As it turns out, the boomerang is something that Ruto herself has more or less been practiced in some form or another. Man, I need more Deca nuts. Hopefully I get more of those soon. She would not give it to Link right away. But it does bring the boomerang into our actual story. Now, at this point, they're not trying to cleanse Jabu-Jabu of whatever is ailing him. They are simply trying to find whatever Ruto is looking for. And so they're kind of being systematic of like, okay, it's not in this area. It's not in this area. However, I do feel like as they are going, we would see, as people watching this story, we would see some indications of these tentacles, even if Link and Ruto are not encountering them themselves. Oops. Sorry, Ruto. Didn't mean to do that. Oh, nice. Maybe at some point there would be a conflict with a tentacle, and Link and Ruto are able to take care of it. But it doesn't become an actual problem until a little later. And that happens when they finally reach the room where the thing that Ruto is looking for is lying around. It's not in any kind of special location. It's probably just kind of laying there in the corner of the room. Ruto would run over, she would grab it, she would be like holding it close, being very almost emotional about it. This is her keepsake from her mother, after all. And then Navi would fly over and look at it and be like, she would fly right back over to Link, like, Link, I think that's it. I think that's the spiritual stone. Really? Kind of running over, and Link takes a look at it, and Ruto is definitely being possessive of it. And so is it? No. It was my mother's. We would probably get some kind of flashback situation where Ruto is spending time with his mother. Thank you, Daisy. Ruto's spending time with her mother. They're having happy times, and her mother gives her the stone. It would be during that flashback, we would have the only give this to someone who is very special to you, that kind of deal. Another argument would have to break out between them, because Link obviously needs it. He doesn't want to go into all of the reasons why, because this is supposed to be a quote-unquote secret mission. But there would be kind of another argument. Not as physical a scuffle as they had before, but enough that they are not paying attention. And so while they are not paying attention, that's when a tentacle slips in from above or from some location and grabs Ruto. She gets pulled. She drops the boomerang as she is pulled away. And before Link can do anything about it, he is now dealing with something else. Not necessarily a giant Octorok, but, you know, general idea. He has to figure out how a boomerang works and etc. Definitely would not happen as fast as this. This thing is really annoying otherwise. And so not necessarily a random elevator that sends him upstairs, but he does have to... Oh, good, I need those. Perfect. He does now have to venture onward on his own. He is most likely being led on by either the sounds of Ruto or just because it's like the only path that he can go on, kind of like what we're doing right now. And I think this would be the time where he is facing those tentacles that we killed previously. Because now they're out and about, and they are causing problems for him, blocking his way, keeping him from moving forward. Oh, I missed. That's better. as we get into the boss chamber, he almost certainly would see that Ruto is nearby. She is entangled by several, like, by a couple of those tentacles, or at least one of them. They're big enough, probably only needs one. And first, Link is trying to free her first, before seeing any of this. But then he gets electrocuted, blasted to the side, and then he sees, not necessarily this thing sitting in the big middle of the room, but maybe like coming in and forming in some kind of way. The boss battle itself definitely proceeds as it does, because, I mean, this is a really good battle. All things, in all reality, this is a very good battle. Now. Oh, real nice. And of course, since I said we're not really going to be changing anything about this battle, I feel no qualms about expediting it. I have enough health, I can do that. There would be times during the battle where we would cut over to Ruto, and she's watching him fight, getting knocked back. Most of the time, when you cut back to her, she's kind of the realization of, this is actually a very brave young man. The whole, like, I am falling for him type of deal. And so, yes, it's very fast. Deku sticks are amazing. So when he finally kills Baronade, and the whole thing explodes, and Link is just kind of, and then he comes over and rescues Ruto. She's initially speechless, as her hero has saved her. And then she's just, what took you so long? This is where she goes full tsundere for a second. Again, we're not doing the full teleport thing. They're walking out themselves. And Ruto is being very kind of lovey-dovey, almost. She's just, like, walking closer to him, trying to grab his hand. What are you doing? Nothing. And then eventually, kind of at the very end, it's like, Link. And Link would turn, and then there she is right in front of his face. And that's when all of that stuff happens. This line is totally in here. I guess I'll reward you. So she already knows that he wants the stone. So during the fight, and probably at the end of the fight, we would again get that quick little flashback with her mother, basically saying that only give this to someone very special. And obviously she is completely smitten with him. And Link, of course, has no idea what the heck is going on, but she goes into full-on giggles about everything that this implies for her. She doesn't say Zora's engagement ring, though she certainly says, I'll give you my most precious possession. In fact, she'll do that she'll come like really, really close to him as she hands it and just whispers, "Don't tell my father." It just gives it, as then she swims away, blushing and giggling the whole time. And Link is like, "What just happened?" So she gets back first, which means Link, who is utterly confused about what just happened, starts to walk back into Zora's domain, tucking the spiritual stone in his pocket with the other two. And as soon as he gets back inside, there is commotion, first surrounding Ruto, and then she turns to see Link, and she says something along the lines of, "Darling." The other Zoras and King Zora look over. She's already been kind of saying that Link is the one who has saved her. And everyone is super excited about this. They're cheering, they're coming over, congratulating him. And a lot like with the Gorons, there's this whole celebration that's going on because of what Link has done. Saving Princess Ruto all by himself. This is truly a young Hylian of great character, resolve, and courage. And so they're giving him accolades and all these things. This whole time, Princess Ruto is practically glued to his side. There might be some conversation about, "Well, Link, where are you headed next?" I need to get back to Hyrule Castle. I don't think he would necessarily say that he's going back to Princess Zelda. Actually, no. I think he would, because we need to see Ruto's pouty face. I think that'd be entertaining. So yeah, there's that whole conversation. Ruto's a little pouty about it. She might even ask him what Zelda is to him, and she's like, what do you mean? She sent me out on this mission. What's going on? Which then immediately makes her feel better about everything. So everything goes back to normal. She just, "Oh, nothing." And just continues, and everything goes on as normal. I have been envisioning this next part of the adventure in my mind so many different times. There is a juxtaposition between two scenes that are happening at the same time. On one hand, we have Link. Link and Navi are making their way back. They're going back down Zora's River. They know where they're headed. They know how to get there. Everything's all hunky-dory. And Link and Navi are both feeling pretty proud of themselves. They have overcome a lot to get to this point. They're feeling really, really good. Ow, ow. Would you stop that? So they're discussing not just what they have done, but what they're expecting as they reach the end. I'm gonna buy another one of these. More beans. So, as Link is going back, they've had a marvelous reception and banquet and celebration from both Gorons and Zora. So Link and Navi are basically kind of imagining the same thing. Because they have done this thing, they're going to accomplish their goals, Zelda's going to be so happy, they're going to get the Triforce, and everything's going to be great. And so they're kind of imagining this kind of triumphal entry into the city, into the castle. But with every single description that Link and Navi are kind of bouncing off each other about, we cut to Hyrule Castle. So, for example, something like... Oh, get out of here. So something along the lines of, we're going to go up to the front gates, and then we cut over to a pair of dark armored legs standing in front of the castle gates. Walk on down the big hallways, and you see that there is... You see that more of this armored person walking through. There's chaos happening all around him. You don't necessarily see too much, but you hear a lot of conflict and battle. Every now and again, you would see a Hylian knight fall over dead. And so all of these things of like walking into the throne room or things like that. As part of this, we are also cutting over to Zelda. Zelda, who is eventually... She's doing all right, then all of a sudden Impa shows up, basically saying, we need to get out of here right now. Zelda immediately becomes aware of what is going on. And so there is that, as we see her running through the hallways with Impa, dodging hordes of enemies of Gerudo as they're coming through. Once or twice, just barely missing Ganondorf, until just as they are getting on their horse, Ganondorf spots them from a balcony. And so they rush off, and Ganondorf is not far behind as he issues commands to the Gerudo to withdraw. Our prey has escaped. So there's all this conflict and chaos happening in the castle. And Link and Navi know nothing until, as they finally get back to Hyrule Castle in the middle of the day, Navi points out that the gates are shut. That's strange. And Link approaches. Hello? Is something wrong? Can I come in? And this scene plays out almost exactly as we see it. As Link says out loud, "Why does this feel so familiar?" Runs to the side, recognizes them both. Zelda would cry out for Link and then chuck it. And of course, there he is, right behind him. I lost her. You over there, boy. Definitely not little boy. He would totally say boy. You must have seen the white horse gallop past just now. Which way did it go? Answer me! So, you think you can protect them from me? You've got guts, boy. Link is probably... Link is probably feeling a little overconfident at this point, and justifiably so. He's dealt with 3 super large, dangerous things, and he's overcome all of them. He's probably feeling pretty good right now. So he's scared. He definitely feels, and Navi certainly feels, that something is drastically different about this man. But Link is also ready to go. So you're willing to defend them to the death? So be it. I want this shot to be intended to be a kill shot. This was supposed to hit his heart and kill him. So at this point, Ganondorf is not talking to Link because Link is essentially knocked out, hit square in the chest. Ganondorf probably initially thinks, like I said, it's supposed to be a kill shot. Pathetic little fool. But then Link suddenly coughs. Because he's not dead. Ganondorf is mildly surprised, but mostly in an amused kind of way. Impressive. You have no idea who it is you are dealing with. My name is Ganondorf, and soon I will rule the world. He kind of looks out again over the fields. Be little point in trying to give chase now. But no matter. She'll show herself soon enough. He turns back. Run home, boy. Be grateful you have your life. Navi would be, at this point, trying to help him, make him feel better, get him back up, and Link is feeling himself as to why he's not dead. And then he feels right where his chest was, right in his chest, right in the folds of his clothing, the shattered remains of Saria's ocarina. And that explains why when we go in here, we suddenly lose the ocarina that we have, because Saria's was broken. Thank you. So, at first, Link is almost inconsolable at this point. He's just been utterly humiliated, and he just lost his treasured ocarina. Navi is trying to make him feel better. It's not very successful. And so she floats over to see what it was that Zelda threw into the moat. And then she yells, Link! Link! Get over here! Link looks in, recognizes the shape, and immediately jumps in after it. And fishes out the Ocarina of Time. Now remember that Zelda and Impa were getting on their horse while Ganondorf was still several floors up in a balcony. It would have taken him time to get down, which gave Zelda enough time to detour Impa to the Temple of Time in order to leave a prayer with the ocarina and with him. This is the first indication that we have that Zelda herself has powers all of her own, as she is leaving this message and this song through the ocarina to Link. Go to the Temple of Time. Play the song. Get the Triforce before Ganondorf. And so, Link is ready to head in. Now remember, this was an act of open war and an attack on the city. So this place right now is not the happy, cheery place that we are currently viewing. I want to see something real quick. I'm sorry. I'm getting a little distracted, but I would be very interested to see if our bunny man is already out and about, or if I have to go back in time first. Because I think we could get our running man involved in the story right about now. If we can get him involved now, I will. Otherwise, we'll see. Aha! Perfect! So, the city at the moment is in utter disarray as everybody is running around, trying to deal with the problems that they are currently dealing with. People are injured, there is destruction, there is fire. People are trying to help each other, and there is one man running around carrying messages, carrying supplies, and trying to be of help wherever he can. The problem is that everyone is so distraught that he is having a hard time providing any kind of support, particularly for the kids, because the children are so distraught. And Link hears this man mourning this. And Link has this last mask to give, to which the man is overjoyed, knows this will work perfectly, and immediately gives Link all the money that he has so he can run and provide joy and help to more people in the city. Just a modicum of happiness and support for a understandably very shocked town at this point. Since we're here, I'm also going to grab a couple of Scatullas. At this point, I'm going to end up with 100 anyway. It's like, oh, I'm nearby. Let me just grab this real fast. Oh, I'm nearby this one. Let's grab this one real fast, too. We'll grab all of them. I mean, if I know where they all are, I might as well, you know. From the running man and from other people that he is overhearing in town, Link gets an idea as to what it is that essentially happened. The details aren't fully fleshed out, but the people are definitely talking about the invading force, how there was some kind of conflict at the castle, rumors about whether or not the Gerudo are people that they should be getting involved with. There's still some confusion, honestly, as to whether or not it really was the Gerudo, because these are rumors flying all over the place. It is really hard to be able to discern fact from fiction. Link feels like he should help, and he tries to help in various ways. But he's also looking for the Temple of Time, which he has no idea where it is. And so he's running from place to place, helping where he can, and eventually running into this guard. He is, in fact, struggling. And most of this, I would say, probably is verbatim what he says. Except for she wanted to give something. If you've gotten it, please hurry. It's more like, you need to go. You need to go to the... And he's like, kind of pointing in the general direction of where the Temple of Time is as he collapses. What? Sorry, I was expecting... Oh, okay. What's wrong with loitering? Nothing. You can loiter if you want. So Link finally has a destination. There's a part of me that wants to go through and find all of the Sheikah stones just so I can see what all of the hints they have are. Because I don't know what those are. In fact, since we're here... Yes, we are getting distracted in our own story crafting. They say the Gerudos sometimes come to Hyrule Castle Town to look for boyfriends. Can I have a Gerudo wander around here and pick me, please? That'd be nice. They say that it is against the rules to use glasses at the treasure chest shop in Hyrule Castle Town Market. Indeed. They say that Malon of Lon Lon Ranch hopes a knight in shining armor will come and sweep her off her feet someday. That's adorable. They say that Malon set the original record in the obstacle course. Good job, Malon. Way to be awesome. The temple is currently functioning as a sort of shelter. People whose homes have been damaged, people who have been injured in the assault. There's certainly a good number of knights. There's most likely an area where those who have been killed in the attack are currently laying blankets covering their bodies. Clergy would be working in all of these areas, tending to the injured, dressing the dead, caring for those who are sheltering here. I feel like the Door of Time would need to be in a not so centralized a location. Because the very presence of the Sacred Realm should be a closely guarded secret. And according to what Zelda said, this was a secret legend passed down only to members of the royal family. So it is not something that should be common knowledge. In fact, it's kind of a miracle that, unfortunate miracle, that Ganondorf even knew about it. Link is looking around, and he is approached by a woman in clergy attire, asking if there is anything that he needs assistance with, looking for his mother, wounds, etc. He says, no, thank you. I don't think that he would be, hey, where's the Door of Time? Because that's not going to work. But I do want that woman to basically be a Gerudo spy. So whatever Link says to her, it needs to more or less tip her off that this is Link. Maybe she sees the fairy. Regardless, as Link goes away, the clergy kind of walks in the other direction. Link maybe has a second thought to ask about something, and she's gone. The Door of Time would be in a secluded area of the temple. Not necessarily with this grand altar, but definitely a location where Link could place the 3 stones in appropriate positions, very obvious where each one goes, and then looking around, making sure nobody is there, plays the song. At first, nothing happens. Until people love the opulence. But then all 3 stones slowly begin to glow, and the door itself begins to move. Being a little concerned that leaving these stones out here would be a bad idea, Link would probably take a little bit of extra time to, like, cover the altar. Because it's, like, the best he can do. He doesn't think he can take them or the doors would close. So instead, that's what he does. Essentially delaying how quickly he can get to the altar. Now, Navi immediately points out that this is the Master Sword, and I have a problem with that because we have not mentioned the Master Sword once in this entire story so far. That makes it a bit of a challenge to be like, oh my gosh, this is it! What do you mean this is it? What is it? You think that no one but the royal family would know about the Temple of Time itself? How do you hide a temple? And this thing's big. Maybe it's not known as the Temple of Time. Maybe it is just the Temple of Hylia. Or Temple of the Goddesses. Something to that general effect. So, not known as the Temple of Time, just as the temple itself. It's not in a prominent location, but it is certainly well known. In order to hide the Temple of Time from the public's view, it would need to be on the castle grounds, which it could be. We would have to have a whole nother discussion about how Link is going to get into the castle grounds now, because that place is on extreme lockdown at this point. Interred in this part of the temple, I'm going to say, are... if it's that far enough, if it's just far enough off to not be affected, then other people would know about it. That's the thing. You would, in order for the temple to not be in public view, it would need to be on the castle grounds. And if it's on the castle grounds, it's going to be affected by the lockdown. Where's my... There it is. In order to get information about the Master Sword, there would need to be a repository of information here in this area of the temple. I don't see Link as being particularly interested in books. However, murals might draw his attention. Could Impa have told them about it? Potentially, but... I'm trying to think why it would have come up. Because at this point, neither of them have been in here, so they don't know what information is in there. Based on what they know of the legend, they would have to add another part of the legend in order to have that information be given from them to Link, saying, oh yeah, by the way, there's a sword in there that you need to worry about too. At this point, we've just been working on the indication, on the assumption that we just needed the stones and the ocarina and we're good to go. So if we learned about the information here and now, some kind of large mural, or maybe some records that would catch Navi's attention. Well, sure, her dad would have told her about the royal family secrets if the royal family knew about the secrets. Nobody has been in here for centuries. It's not like they use the Triforce on a regular basis. I'm not saying you're wrong, but it's also quite as likely that they don't know about it. Because no one's supposed to know about it. Because it's been too long. That's why Link and Navi wouldn't know about it until they get... Oral traditions exist, yes, but oral traditions are also the first ones to vanish. They get twisted and altered through no one's fault. Fi says it herself. It is the least reliable method of information transfer. The longest game of telephone. Again, I'm not saying you're wrong. It could be how it is done. But since we, as a collective, have not been talking about it until now, we have to think about how it could be addressed. You can address it that way, or it could be addressed as they're coming through. Instead of just door Master Sword, it is door repository of various artifacts and history, etc., and then Master Sword. So they would come into this room that is full of information. Scrolls, books, ancient tablets, tapestries, murals, all of these different other kinds of ways to transmit either pictures or the written word to transmit information about various things. This is where we would learn a little bit more about the history of the sacred realm itself. I would probably take a page from the from A Link to the Past. Do I think Link would know how to read? I do think Link would know how to read. Because we have had plenty of opportunities with Link... Well, actually, we haven't had any real indications that Link would have needed to read up until this point. I bet Navi knows how to read, though. So while Navi is interested in the different scrolls and whatnot, would the Kokiri know how to read? You know what? I bet they do. Because they have to be educated enough to at least know how to run a shop. They're not advanced readers. Because, you know, they have about a... Are you smarter than a 5th grader? Welcome to Hyrule's latest game show. Are you smarter than a Kokiri? Oh, gosh. Oh, boy. That sounds offensive. Even if Link doesn't, I think Navi would. So one way or another, they would be able to get out the information that says a little bit about the history of this place. Like I said, I am taking a page from A Link to the Past, where there was a war. There was a war. We know there was a war. There have been conflicts over the years, particularly over the Triforce. And during one of those wars for the Triforce, the sages of that time placed a seal on the door to the realm where the Triforce is hidden. They placed several keys upon that lock. Or, you know, whatever, however they want to describe that seal and how it is, that it's firmly put in place so that none may enter without being worthy in some kind of fashion. Link is particularly interested in a tapestry or a mural on the wall, one or the other, that depicts the Master Sword enshrined, probably being cared for, worshipped, or some kind of something that places the sword in very great significance. And the sword, there's an inscription on it that Navi is able to read, or Link, you know, whoever. One of them reads some kind of memorial text for the sword. The Blade of Evil's Bane, the Master Sword. We have to have the name in there at some point, because otherwise, when they come in here, Navi doesn't know, would not know what this sword is. So they come in, we would have a wonderful view of everything that is here. I love the light. Looks really good. Navi is more interested in all of the symbology that is surrounding everything. But Link is almost transfixed on the sword. Something is almost calling him to it. And so when he pulls it out, at first there was a rush of warmth and energy. I wish that, oh, you know what? We can pause it right there as we discuss this kind of situation. So there's warmth and energy that Link is feeling. He's feeling as if he is going somewhere. And then all of a sudden, everything feels almost cold. Something doesn't feel right. He can't let go of the blade. Yeah, like the Elements Room in Finish Cap. That's a good example. He can't let go of the blade. He can't move. He's stuck, and Navi is confused as well. What's going on? What's happening? And everything goes black. We don't get this scene that we see right here. This does not happen. this description of what Ganondorf ends up doing would be given later by Rauru to Link. Because Link is unaware of everything that Ganondorf may or may not have said. Everything goes white, it goes dark, and the next thing he hears is an old man's voice. Link. Wake up, Link. The chosen one. Link is not standing here. Link is in a bed, I'm gonna say. There is more than just this room that Rauru has jurisdiction of. He has a little, I'm gonna call it a villa of some kind. Steady on there. You know, Link immediately kind of... There's movement, and you still don't see him because there's movement under the covers as Rauru kind of puts a hand on his shoulder. You only see kind of Rauru's back at this point. Steady on there. It's been quite some time since you've been able to move. Take it slow. One step at a time. Your awakening could not come a moment sooner. It could not come a moment later. We are in dire need of your courage and strength. It's never really explained whether or not Rauru has a physical body or not. At least not that I have seen. And so, at this point, I'm free to interpret it however I want. Anywho, basically we're having an initial conversation without Link saying anything or being seen, as Rauru is slowly kind of bringing him back to consciousness and saying he's glad that he's back and that he is sorely needed. But eventually, Link would try and say something, and it's a... Is that my voice? Is that... What? And then that's where you get an actual shot of Link seeing himself in an adult body. So then comes the question of, what the heck? What's going on? And that's where the explanation begins to unfold. Of what happened. I thought I was going to... Yes. Yes. Yes, you were. And then the explanation comes of, yes, you tried to. However... Now, there's no title Hero of Time just yet, but... The Master Sword is a blade in which evil ones may never touch. However, you were too young to wield it. Therefore, your spirit and body were sealed here until you were old enough and strong enough to do so. How long have I been? 7 years. 7? Yes. And in that time... much has changed. And that's where the explanation of That's where the explanation then of, though you tried to do this, the door was left open. And then we cut to Ganondorf being told the information by his spy, goes to the Temple of Time, walks through the open door, through the open portal, and then you see him taking the Triforce. Well, not necessarily taking the Triforce, but you do see him kind of reaching out for it. That's all we see, because the whole splitting of the Triforce comes later. We find out that information later. And then we cut to seeing Ganondorf return. There's this whole evil shadow. We see people running for cover and for help. We see things being set on fire. You know, the usual signs that everything is going to crap. And as Rauru finishes telling him this story, Link is super concerned, super anxious, and he's ready to go right now. He jumps up, tries to start walking, and almost immediately falls over. And Rauru laughs a little bit because Link is unused to having this adult body. He is suddenly taller. He has limbs that are longer than he's used to having. And so he basically tripped over his own feet. And so the first thing that Link needs to do is that he needs to learn how to manage his new body, to wit, Rauru is able to essentially train him for a short while. Understanding how his body works, this is also where more of this information regarding what the Master Sword is, what it can do, and more importantly, how Link can best Ganondorf. This would be a full-on montage. The power of the sages remains. When the power of all the sages is awakened, the sages' seals will contain all the evil power in the void of the realm. The question then becomes, well, where are these sages? Where can I find them? I feel like it makes a little bit more sense for Rauru to tell Link about where the sages would best be found in the temples and not necessarily Sheik. We'll get to Sheik in a minute because Sheik needs to be involved in the stuff that's going on, but understanding that Link needs to locate these temples should come from Rauru. And so as Link finishes up and is ready to depart, Rauru would grant Link a portion of his power in his medallion. And he would be ready to depart. Rauru did not, in the game, Rauru does not give us the basic locations. That is supposedly a legend from the Sheikah, in which Sheik is going to be now granting us, as it were. So the question then becomes, how do we want to bring Sheik into the equation? I very much like how she shows up here, and I am fine with that. Navi would not ask this question. They come back, and the first thing that they notice is that this place looks abandoned. Obviously, this place was not supposed to be frequented by people, but it's kind of like that thing that you get with holy places where there's always some kind of serene cleanliness about them. Now the place looks like no one's really touched it at all. There's dust and cobwebs and all this stuff. It gets worse the further out they go from the altar here into the records room and then into the temple proper. The temple proper is just a mess. An utter mess. The place has been ransacked multiple times, most likely. It is actually surprising that nobody came into this area. Perhaps a fragment of that sacred energy remains. Link and Navi would discuss what they are seeing in the temple, maybe picking through some of the remnants, wondering what everything else is looking like, probably fearing what everything is going to look like. They continue moving when Link stops because he does hear something. Do I want Link and Sheik to fight? I kind of do, if I'm perfectly honest. I would love a fight scene. Either Link is overreacting, expecting enemies to show up. Perhaps Sheik is initially in some kind of like robed outfit, not showing the Sheikah emblem, so it's a little harder to identify what Sheik represents. Or Sheik is testing Link in order to feel more confident, as it were, that he is ready for the tasks that lay ahead of him. I want to give Sheik opportunities to be a active character in this adventure and not necessarily just a pop up, give you a song, run away. And so, while we won't have this stuff coming from Sheik, because we would instead have that coming from Rauru, after their testing conflict, Sheik would remove their hood, reveal the Sheikah emblem, and talk a little bit about what the Sheikah are doing at this point. The Sheikah are essentially an underground resistance movement against Ganondorf. They have been working tirelessly to undermine his efforts on conquering Hyrule. Which has thankfully prevented Ganondorf from extending his ambitions beyond to the rest of the world. Of course, Sheik would introduce themselves as just Sheik, or you may call me Sheik. That's probably how they would say it. I think now that the initial hostilities are over, Sheik is revealing themselves to be an ally. Link would, at the very least, say, this is where we need to go. We need to find the ancient temples of Hyrule. Do you know where we can go? And Sheik would say, I am aware of at least one. However, there are more challenges than just the temple itself. She would definitely not say that the sage is a girl I'm sure you know. No, it is more of there is more than just this, and unfortunately, as things are, you most likely cannot even enter the temple itself. Link, looking a little suspicious, saying, what should I do? And Sheik would basically say, come with me. And so at this point, Sheik and Link are traveling together. As soon as they step outside, Link is understandably shocked and devastated at the sheer amount of destruction that is surrounding this place. He begins running. Sheik more or less letting Link process everything as he is running through the village. Probably seeing the zombies. What, I'm seeing the zombies yet? Yeah, we'll see the zombies. See the zombies. Understandably being freaked out. Winding up near Hyrule Castle, or what was Hyrule Castle, and seeing just what it is transformed into. Sheik would suddenly be nearby, and basically saying that this is what Ganondorf has done, making it his castle now. There would be some quick discussions before Sheik would kind of look over to the side and say, we mustn't linger here. Because, of course, there are going to be patrols and whatnot in the area. And Sheik, in particular, does not want to get captured. So the two then make their way through the ruins of the castle town and out into Hyrule Field. The situation here obviously looks a lot more calm than I feel like it should be. Because this place is supposed to be completely wrecked by Ganondorf at this point, or some kind of hive of monsters. Certainly more monsters than zero. So we know that there are Poes that are out here. It is certainly possible that Link and Sheik may have to deal with them. They would have to be fighting something or another as they are initially traveling through the night. Sheik doesn't necessarily need to give a full-on exposition of every single bad thing that has happened, because just having to fight Stalfos or other things that may be wandering around out here is more than enough to show this place has gotten worse. I want the music to start. It doesn't take long for Link to recognize that they are headed into Kakariko Village. The place is certainly more populated than it was previously. However, the overall conditions are noticeably worse. There are a lot more people who look like they're struggling to survive. More people than there are houses. I'm just grabbing these because I can. And Sheik would talk a little bit how Kakariko is a base of operations for the Sheikah, obviously, but Ganondorf also knowing that, well, I don't know if Ganondorf, I don't know. Kind of wondering how much of the Sheikah Ganondorf would know about. Regardless, Kakariko has certainly become a safe haven for refugees. It's not without its problems, obviously, but there is stuff to be done. Link would ask, well, where is this thing that you wanted me to see? Sheik would put a hand on Link's shoulder and say, well, hang on. And Sheik would start helping some of the people. Link gets a little irritated. Like, yes, we should, but initially it's like, yeah, we should be helping people. Let's not be, we don't have to be so impatient to get everything done that we can't ignore the people who are sitting in front of them. It's easy to tell that Sheik is known in the village, respected, and has a reputation of being considerate and caring for everyone in town. Link helps where he can. Talking with Anju, yes, we do have this exchange. Maybe just a word of comfort, because Anju doesn't know where her brother is. And eventually she gives Link the egg as thanks. Link is also... I'm gonna say asked. I'm surprised that we don't have it. We would have here in the graveyard a new gravekeeper. The young boy who was enjoying playing gravekeeper as a kid would be here now as the new gravekeeper. Unfortunately, he was injured in the previous 7 years, and so he's a lot more like Dampé than he probably ever wanted to be. And so the graveyard itself is in a little bit of disrepair. And so Link volunteers to assist. And our new gravekeeper warns him to be careful because the spirits have been very restless in the last several years. So Link gets to work, clearing off weeds and whatnot. And he eventually starts to see gravestones that he wasn't particularly familiar with. I'm going to say that these two graves were not present when Link was a kid. They're here now, so this is where Link learns about the Composer Brothers and their efforts. It makes a little bit more sense for them to react then that we're not one of Ganondorf's men. We would not necessarily have to beat one and then beat the other. The two would come up themselves. In fact, Link most likely would not even need to fight them. As soon as he, like, starts attacking, he'd be like, hold on, hold on, hold on. Now, I always feel a little weird about using time manipulation to this level of ridiculousness. So I'm not entirely certain about having the Sun Song as given. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. There we go. So I think what we would mostly get, instead of this little side thing to go into a grave to get a song that manipulates time, which is a little bit more time fiddling than I would particularly be interested in having. Let's say instead that this whole thing that we're having is more a kind of a review of some of the things that Ganondorf has been doing over the past several years. I really want to emphasize the things Ganondorf has been doing. Oops, that's not what I wanted. There we go. What he has been doing, the things that have completely upended how everything works in Hyrule. In particular, I would want the Composer Brothers to talk about how the dead cannot rest. Something that our Gravekeeper mentioned and is now being further emphasized as being a side effect directly of what Ganondorf has been doing. Part of that discussion would lead to talking about Dampé. And I could see our Gravekeeper, our new Gravekeeper, becoming part of the discussion now. If our new Gravekeeper is familiar with the Composer Brothers and has interacted with them over the course of trying to do his job as best he can, I could see him being a part of this conversation as well. And because he idolized Dampé as much as he did, I could see him being quite engaged in everything that has been going on, at least certainly aware of certain problems, such as zombie issues. And particularly the fact that Dompe has become more active in death than you could argue he was in life. And so Link would offer to try and assist with that. There is definitely a race involved. Because, like I said, Dompe is very, very active. Not a fan of the whole fire thing, but, I mean, what are you gonna do? Good thing is, I know how to get this done super, super fast. And unfortunately, I have to do it twice because they don't let you get both rewards at the same time in the regular game. You gotta do it twice. Which is unfortunate. Yes, I'm very glad that my item tracker for randomizers now has a map for this place. So much easier to deal with. Racing with Dompe. I think instead of this kind of situation, the fact that Link actually beats him is what more or less kind of puts him at ease. There we go. Now we do it again! And after beating him, Dompe is willing to tell a little bit more of kind of his story and how he didn't just like find the hookshot, he actually invented it. And so then he gives the hookshot to Link as a kind of a farewell gift, as a thank you for essentially putting his soul to rest. Link, of course, sees how cool and useful this thing could be. we go. And so, with that information, well, with the hook shot and with Dampe's soul at peace, Dampe would disappear. Come here. Ah, crap. There we go, that's better. And coming back out, Link would find Sheik waiting for him. And Sheik would acknowledge that that is what Link was looking for. Link would spend the night in Kakariko. Unfortunately, because the place is so overstuffed, the only place that is available is in a shared room. The shared house. And Link is awoken the next morning, not by a Crewster, but by snoring. That is very familiar. Just like in this exchange, Talon does not recognize Link. I think what would end up happening is Talon has kind of lost it because he's probably in a depression over losing the ranch. He's worried about his girl. Ingo has probably, like, banned Talon from ever coming back to the ranch, which is why he doesn't go in and try and, like, save Malon or anything. And Malon won't leave because the horses. She wants to protect them as best she can. She says as much. Link would try and cheer Talon up for a bit. They would probably raise that little egg together until it hatches. And they'd be working on that outside, and eventually the chick would hatch, and it would crow, and Anju would come by and see what is going on. And oh my gosh, what a great job you did. And during that exchange, Anju would give Kojiro to Link. Kind of a memento. And Anju is trying to make peace with the fact that she may never see her brother again. And that's another reason why she gives Kojiro to us. The talk about family, again, kind of makes Talon feel sad, frustrated, and Link determines to sort this little problem out. So he decides to make his way to Long Long Ranch. The ranch itself is a very interesting juxtaposition. On the one hand, the ranch itself is going to look gaudy. It's going to look fancy. Ingo has spared no expense to try and spruce up the place and make it look like it is very, very well for itself. However, someone as super observant as Navi will notice that even though it looks all glitzy and fancy, it's actually very, very ill-kept. There would be the sound, perhaps, of a falling bucket or similar, and sounds of frustration, maybe even tears coming from inside the stable. And Link would not necessarily talk with Malon, but would certainly overhear her woes being cried out. Additionally, her tears and whatnot will be interrupted by the sounds of Ingo from outside yelling at her to shut up and get back to work, basically. Ingo would come around the corner and see that we are there, and he immediately puts on this very... Well, a visitor, welcome to the finest, super showman-y, trying to suck up to people kind of disposition. I don't think Navi would want to show herself in this interchange, though I would absolutely love it if she was, because I could see her throwing out some barbs at him. However, I don't think Navi would want to reveal herself at this point. Ingo is... Ingo is definitely trying to use Link to spread a good reputation. Exact. He's very interested about spreading a good impression of the place to get good press his way, essentially. And so, as he's like leading, as a potential customer, Link would definitely be seen as a potential customer, or at the very least, Ingo kind of assumes, because someone of Link's obvious build and well-equipped nature is certainly in the market for a good horse. Well, look no further than Ingo Ranch for the best the best stock you can find this side of the Gerudo Valley. And so as he's leading, he talks about how the great Ganondorf recognized his obvious talents and yada yada yada. And so Link kind of, because he's quiet, he's trying to understand and process everything, because this is the first time someone has really treated him as a serious customer. So he doesn't really know how to react. And Ingo misreads it because he's not a good businessman. And so, because of that, Ingo is like waiting for him to respond. Waiting. He's like, fine, tell you what. The 10 rupees is there for this, but it's more like, why don't you go out and see if you can find one that is to your taste? Link would be led in. It's like, take a horse, ride around, see what you think about it. He's looking around, he's looking at the horses. Of all of the things that look shabby in this place, the horses do look like they are well taken care of. Because, of course, Malin cares for the horses because she's good at that. And she loves them as you should. Anywho, he's looking around. He's seeing the horses. Most of them are... They have a resigned look to their face. There's only one that has a glint in its eye. Kind of, you can tell she has a rebellious streak to her. Link recognizes the color, kind of inches forward. Epona? And then she kind of runs off. Link is chasing for a little bit, and then realizes, wait a second. Wait a second. I think he remembers Epona. It's the look in Epona's eye and the color of her mane. It's like, hang on a second. The dog. I was gonna say, Daisy, Epona's a girl horse. Link has probably not ridden horses much himself. The only time that we might have been able to is during the short amount of time that he spent with Malin. Caring for them those few couple of days that they were there. He probably got a very short lesson in riding, but that's about it. So Link doesn't look all too comfortable on the horse. And Ingo sees that as an opportunity. He starts trying to flatter Link. Being like, oh man, you're the best horse, you're a natural, yada yada yada. And he's like, tell you what, how about... And Link is not particularly interested in it. However, Epona is. And so kind of the motions that Epona starts doing, shaking her head, snorting, kind of stamping her feet, her hoof. Link's like, do you want to? And Link's like, all right. And for the races, Epona is the one taking charge. And so over the course of this first race, as Epona is just going, Link feels more and more confident about being on there. He's feeling good. He loves the rush of the wind through his face. And of course, this second round goes the exact same way. There we go. And there we go. So, the reaction, of course, is as the reaction is given here in the game. He is freaking out. He's like, what? And Link is insistent. This is what you said. This is what you bet. Ingo begins to leave under the pretense of, let me get some stuff for Epona, some special, maybe additional like supplies and whatnot. Malin sees what is going on. She watched the whole thing. She's like, oh my gosh, this just happened. Yeah, papers to sign, you know, general standard, I don't know. I've never had a horse. I don't know everything that's involved in horse stuff. Horse stuff. He's going to go get horse stuff. And so, you didn't see that. I need something to secure this to the top of this monitor, because when we start playing Metroid Prime, I'm gonna need this to be stationary. Anywho. Maybe. I like the idea of her saying that as we're making our escape. That would be cool. She's certainly very excited about it. There is an initial discussion perhaps between them of, because Malin's losing Epona. She's like, are you, please take care of her, would you please? I mean, it's all of this stuff, but Epona seems super happy and perfectly content with this, and Malin is confused as to why that would be, but this pondering is interrupted by the sounds of a clinking gate. Because, of course, he's not letting us leave. And so now there's this kind of have a discussion of what are we going to do. Malin can get in and out through the stable, but Ingo will not let us through there either, for obvious reasons. And we can't get Epona through the door anyhow. So then, they're looking around, and Link notices the fences. He kind of looks at them, he looks at Epona, leans down. Do you think you can do it? And Epona gives a very, like, whatever the horse version of a nod is. And Link's like, don't worry, I'll go get your father. What? Navi flies out, and then Malin would be like, Fairy Boy? Then to Malin's excitement, Ingo's shocked face. He's up and over. Link is true to his word. They ride out, and they ride into Kakariko Village. Oh, a shocked face would be amazing. I'd love to see it. They ride into Kakariko Village. They come to Talon, tell him everything that happened. And Talon is super excited. And he is happy to come back. And so we do a little bit of a time skip. Just a little, a couple of days. We are just going to time skip. to the next morning, but we will say it has been a couple of days. Ingo is... Well... No, we would start with this. Link would be in the stables, working. He's helping out just a little bit. And inside as well is Talon. Talon is getting some stuff. He is handing it over to Link as Link is working on some of the stuff you do in here. I don't know enough about the things that you do in here. And he is working hard. He is not being a lazy bones as he has been. And during that conversation, he would say something towards Ingo, who is also in there. And Ingo would be super polite. Yes, Mr. Talon. Right away, Mr. Talon. Etc. Link would come out. Malon is with Epona. And Epona would willingly walk away from Malon and over to Link. A lot of this conversation, I think, would go decently well, except for maybe well, no, I could see this being part of it, as maybe they see Ingo going around and working, etc. Now, I'm going to try and do this. I don't see there being any particular part of the story being a part of this race. And this is most certainly my least favorite thing to do in this whole game. I hate this race so much. I really and honestly and truly do. Because of that. Hate you all. Well, I don't hate any of you. I hate the fences. The fences are dumb and I hate them. Oh, I don't even have to get back on her. Awesome. I can just talk to her again. Okay. Good. All right, I think we're at least going to be able to finish the course. Oh, there we go! 49 seconds, we did it! Awesome! Woo! It dropped again. I'm gonna leave this down now. I'll secure it later. That's funny. Okay. I have done the thing. Just to say that I can still do it. And that is why I don't put that in a randomizer. I purposefully removed that from the field because it is gross and I hate it. Same thing with all the Poe collecting out in the Hyrule field. It is dumb. Anywho, with everything going along so well now at Long Lawn Ranch, and with the arrival of Talon, there is a lot of familial love that is happening. And just like what happened 7 years ago, events in Long Lawn Ranch make Link think of home. And so, Link is more or less persuaded. Not persuaded, but he feels a call to home. He enters. Things look small until suddenly a plant pops out and starts attacking him. Oh my gosh. What are these things doing here? Welcome back. He starts fighting stuff. Plants are everywhere. There is just too many of them. They should not be here. What the heck is going on? He gets overwhelmed, honestly, at one point, as he is confused at everything that is going on when Sheik shows up. And Sheik takes out a plant that was about to take him out. Link expresses his disbelief at everything that is going on. He runs back to his old house and sees that the place has been completely abandoned. Sheik, who is standing nearby, says, "There's a little more than that than you probably should be aware of." What do you mean? At this point, they have taken care of all of the monsters in Kakariko Village. And so, with everything quiet, the Kokiri starts to come out of their homes. And Link is speechless. What in the world is going on? Why does everyone look the exact same? Everyone is super surprised. They're super grateful that the monsters have been cleared out. And they're very grateful to Link. Sheik, interestingly enough, has vanished. And so they crowd around Link, they thank him, they ask, like, what is this fairy doing here? Surprisingly enough, nobody asks her name. Which actually is a bit of a plot hole now that I think about it. Why wouldn't they be curious about that? Which fairy is this? So maybe Navi would hide herself because there are suddenly some very awkward questions that need to be answered. I feel really bad every time I look at my mic and I see that it's picking up my chewing noises, and I'm sorry. So, there's no great celebration as the actual problem has yet to be resolved. However... Oh, I just realized I never did a thing in the past that I needed to do. Oh well. I'm not trying to get everything. I forgot to get the song from the Scarecrow. But we don't need to get all of the heart pieces and Scatolas, so it's not something we actually have to worry about. I said I wasn't going to be 100% on this. And now I've been forced to not be 100% on this. This is a good thing. Anywho... discussing the stuff that has been happening, the Kokiri tell Link about the state of the forest. And someone brings up the question of Saria and Mito. Where are they? What are they doing? Oh yeah, they're supposed to be over here. But there are monsters in there as well. Mister, will you please go and save them? And Link would, of course, be like, yes, I will be more than happy to. He quickly finds out, as he comes into the Lost Woods, that this place is much less kind to him now that he is an adult. The maze is ever more complicated than it ever has been before. And the Skull Kids, if we were to go over and say hi to a couple of them down there... they would be quite aggressive. So Link is going around. He's trying to figure out what is happening. Yes, in terms of general timeline, I think this is the only time that makes sense because we're not going to be in the Lost Woods otherwise. So as we are wandering around, Link comes upon this man. And initially, the man does not respond as Link is trying to rouse him, make him feel better. He obviously does not look like he's in very good shape. And eventually Kojiro would essentially kind of come out of hiding, or wherever he happens to be. We have to worry about the fact that Link can't technically carry all of this stuff on him. We'll just... anime logic. Don't worry about it. Game logic. We have the stuff. That's all that matters. We're telling a story. We're not telling a replicable story. So... instead of us delivering this mushroom to Kakariko Village, I think we would have Link just trying to find the mushroom itself. That's the reason why he came in. He hasn't been able to find it. He has been here for far too long, but he refuses to leave without the mushroom that he came for. And so, Link would help him using his memory of the forest and what mushrooms can be found in it to attempt to locate it. It becomes a bit of a problem because, like I said, the forest is less kind to him now. But he would eventually be able to find it. Quickly run back here. There we go. Took me forever to realize that the thing that she's petting is a cat. There we go. Do 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 do. Back to the plot. There we are. Oh, I wanted it to be night again. There we go. So, with the mushroom discovered and in his hand, Link runs back to where he saw the boy before. The young man. Well, older man. I don't know. The man. The guy. The dude. And he's not there. He's not there. Link looks around, puts the mushroom down, looks around, and the only thing he can find is a saw. He picks up the saw, looks it over, and behind him he hears a familiar yet mischievous voice. That guy isn't here anymore. He turns around and he sees the Kokiri girl that used to have a crush on him. What do you mean? Anybody who comes into the forest who doesn't belong will be lost. Everybody will become a Stalfos. Everyone Stalfos. So he's not here anymore. What? He bends down. I would say he looks back down to pick up the mushroom, and the mushroom is not there anymore. The girl is now holding it. This isn't yours. This belongs to the forest. Okay. The others asked me to look for Saria and Mido. Do you know where they are? Nope, I don't. Do you think you can find them? I will. Oh. Are you sure? Or are you going to be a Stalfos too? And she runs off. Link is hesitant to give chase. He feels like he is being led into a trap. It's a little later, as he is still trying to find his way through the forest, that he finally stops, thinks, and recalls the things that Saria had told him about the forest and about her song. And so, he pauses in the middle of the woods, seemingly alone, and plays the song. And the response is that melody. Mido walks out from behind a tree. Saria plays that song all the time. Do you know Saria? Link starts to walk forward and like to say his name, but it's like he backs off just a little bit. Saria taught that song only to her friend. He's very standoffish. Definitely not the aggressive Mido that Link remembers as a kid. And so Link has to pause and try to be calm and gentle in return, asking if he can help him find Saria. And eventually it's, okay, I trust you. And so Mido starts leading him through the forest. It isn't until he finally points the way to the Sacred Forest Meadow that he says, more to himself than to Link, I don't know why, but when I see you, I remember him. This is also where he would say to Link directly the lines that we can only get to hear if we talk to him after defeating the Forest Temple, which is Mido promising Saria that he would direct Link to Saria because Saria really has a hard time saying that Saria liked Link. I will take that. What do you sell? Okay, obviously, buying arrows right now is silly as I do not have a bow. I just wanted the expanded Deku Nuts. Link is kind of stunned about that information. That Saria liked him. And suddenly the realization that his feelings are being reciprocated, or would have been reciprocated, has him in all kinds of anxious emotion. He just charges into here in order to get to Saria, because he knows right where she is. And we're gonna hash out these feelings right here, right now. He's ready. Which is very quickly interrupted. This is also where Sheik would be more or less waiting for him. I wasn't expecting him to turn so soon. That part may or may not happen. I missed! It's been so long since I've actually had to deal with these guys. Ha! Watch me do it the non-hookshot way. I feel cool. Oh. Like, I legitimately do feel cool for being able to do that. First try, too. Sheik, I think, would be here in this spot right now. I wish there were moblins through more of this game, to be honest, but this is the only place where they show up. So there would be a bit of a struggle, as it were, as Link and Sheik work together in order to defeat this horde of moblins who have basically set up a base in the forest. And once the chief has been defeated, Link is excited as he runs up the stairs to meet with Saria. And of course, she isn't there. But she's always here. Sheik, who is already here, then, of course, talks. The flow of time is always cruel. Its speed seems different for each person, but no one can change it. I think that doesn't change with time is a memory of younger days. There would probably be a little bit more of a discussion involved with this. Yes, we are learning more songs for teleportation, which I'm a little about how we would want to include this in the story, because for at the very least with... Oops, sorry, wrong button. At the very least with the Spirit Temple, I feel like it's almost mandatory, but it's also quite true that we don't necessarily have to. This music could, however, be invoking the spirits of, in this case, the forest, and would also be resonating the spirits with the power of the sage. And while not necessarily teleporting Link, it would give Link a direction, perhaps a guiding light the spirits of the forest directing Link in the direction that he needs to go. And so in this case, the light would lead him to a different part of the forest meadow. And eventually up and in. I feel like this place should be a little bit more visible in its Deku iconography. Because it's the forest spirits that have maintained things in the forest for forever. And so Link and Navi, but especially Navi, would recognize certain aspects of the temple and its general usage, even if neither of them had actually been here. But of course, this place has also become a den of darkness. I would love for these four to have personalities. Maybe not ghosts, but dark fae spirits. Perhaps even spirits corrupted by Ganondorf. They were originally guardians of the temple, and they still function in that capacity, but have since become wicked and etc. At this point, everything is essentially a cry for Navia. Where is she? Where are you? Can you hear my voice? And I do want her to be able to respond. But she can't respond necessarily just anywhere. I think her presence would probably be felt strongest out here in the courtyard, as there are more, there's more forest life, as it were, out here. I want that. I want... No, 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 no! Thank you. I did not want to get injured. Now we can go up. So out here in the courtyard, Link hears just the barest of whispers. something that sounds like Saria, and he's able to basically call out and respond. Where are you, Saria? I can hear you. Where are you? And Saria recognizes him somehow. Link, I'm so glad that you're all right. I have not heard anything from you. And Link is more kind of distraught at this point, because he was never brave enough to admit his feelings before, and now he realizes that he could have. But of course, there's no time right now in order to do that, so it has to wait until they can actually meet with each other. And then comes the question of, well, where are you? Where can I find you? And sorry, it would probably say something to the effect of, I don't know. I'm trapped. I can't move. I can see out. I can see a room. And more or less kind of describes the room where Phantom Ganon is located. But she can't direct him to where that is. And Link says, all right, I will find you. And Saria would caution him to beware of the four, I guess we'll call them Poes for lack of a better term for them, the four sisters. Their games have turned to cruel and mean. Their jokes have turned to cruel, mean, and dangerous tricks. I would be interested if there was some kind of tale about the four sisters. But I don't want to necessarily go into ghost stories, because that's definitely more of a Shadow Temple type of deal. Well, no, not really. Because when we get to the Shadow Temple, we're going to basically be reviewing Hyrule's bloody history. Not really ghost stories. The Spirit Temple, you would kind of think ghosts, but I don't, that's going to be leaning more into Ganondorf territory. So we actually probably could tell some kind of ghost story revolving around these four sisters. If we don't make them Dark Fae, we could just make them ghosts. Maybe not a story about how they died or whatever, which is what you kind of get with a normal ghost story, but just the tales of Will-O-Wisps. Something on that kind of line, the use of light to guide people, hapless wanderers who have become lost. Perhaps they were... Well, I mean, perhaps it's just kind of that kind of thing. Maybe originally it was for fun and games, but eventually it became less fun. And so, Link's first encounter with the Poe sisters obviously comes through here. Now, this is cute in and of itself, but it really doesn't, you know, provide danger. So, beyond just jumping from painting to painting, and there would definitely be verbal jabs thrown at Link as well, there would also be physical traps involved in some manner. I'm thinking along the lines of, like, arrows coming out of slits in the walls. Maybe fire being thrown from those paintings. And so while Link is fighting to try and figure out what is going on, he finds, yes, he finds these Stalfos, but he also finds that these Stalfos have bows. And so he has to engage in combat on both fronts, both up front and ranged. So when he is able to defeat them, he is able to pick up one of those bows to use for himself. Gonna make my life easier. So then, with bow in hand, he can now deal with the paintings. Wait, she has a name? Joelle. Oh! Well then. I had no idea that they had names. That had to have... I don't know if I've ever actually read that, just their descriptions. Huh! The more you know. NBC. Well, I'm definitely going to double check them all now because I am fascinated by this. The use of the twisted hallways, rooms where you end up in different sides. Definitely going to be using that as a plot point. probably be safer if I grab this first. So I will. The twisted hallways and rooms would be the ploy of our next ghost. That way, all four of them have different tricks that they are playing. So probably be, let's see here, how can we make them more dangerous? A lot of doors that just lead to death. Trapdoors, spikes that come out of nowhere. Oh, gosh, you could be really, really dangerous with those kinds of deals. It's like those games that you generally see with, like, Mario Maker, where they're purposefully trying to make everything as unnecessarily dangerous as possible. I hate those levels. I don't know why people make them. The trolling levels. Oh, wait a second. Why am I doing this? I don't need to do this. That's why I cast this magic in the first place. That's why you make the magic. It's what you do. There we are. Okay, this one's name is Beth. So we have Joelle and Beth. Today's Monday. I hate the fact that today's Monday. I'm not ready to go back to work. Oh well. Go back to work I shall. There we go. I don't think we necessarily need to do anything with this whole section. Because the next major scene would need to come once we get down below, when the ceiling starts falling. Right about here. Navi is definitely the one to point that out to him. Thunk. And of course, after the ceiling falls, you have to have the blocks fall. I mean, technically, Link isn't tall enough to really see what the picture is. So we could just have them be slightly smaller blocks. Oh, dang it! Oh, there we go. Amy. There, we got it. Joelle, Beth, Amy. That was close. Completely forgot. I'm too used to just killing and moving on. That's a dangerous phrase. It's right around here that the sounds of crying can be heard. Which, of course, grows louder the closer that you get. There is an exchange of barbs. Obviously, she's really upset at us for taking out her sisters. We're saying, give it up. There's only one of you. We'll take you out the way that we took the others. What are you talking about? I can make my own sisters. Meg! Joelle, Beth, Amy, and Meg. Is that a reference to anything? I have no idea. It could be. The conflict would be just a little bit more complicated than this. Wouldn't necessarily be always circling around us like this, but it's definitely a question of one of these things is not like the others kind of deal. Identifying the culprit. The real one. At this point, once again, Saria's voice becomes audible. Saria senses dark shadows in the room. Link, of course, is assuring her that everything's going to be fine. We're going to get you out of there. But this is less of a concern for her and more a concern for us. I need to be careful. There is a force keeping me in here. And he will come for you. And finally, we get here. The one change that would make it to this room is that Saria would be on the ceiling. That's where her painting would be. And she's looking down, or maybe on, like, higher up. Regardless, out of sight compared to all of this. And so Link is trying to, like, I can't shoot it because I don't want to shoot her. How do we get to where we need to go? And that's when he hears snorting behind him. Flashbacks to what happened in front of Hyrule Castle first come into mind. I would prefer if Phantom Ganon did not take his mask off until after the first phase of the battle. At first, it's like Link believes that he is fighting Ganondorf for real. And then after he knocks him off the horse, then the mask comes off. And it's obvious that it is something else. Then he shows up, takes off the mask. He has his big old rod. That sounded wrong. His staff. And at first, these attacks are coming, like, super fast. And it's the only... It comes as a bit of a reactive move to slash at the bolt so it doesn't hit him, but as soon as he sees it works out pretty well, Link starts trying to see, like, okay, how can I work with this? Whoa! I forgot how fast that got. That is the second time I've ever seen him do that. I don't think there's anything I can do with that, so I'm just gonna dodge it. We could also have Ganondorf, Phantom Ganon, have his mask there on the entire time, and it's only at the end when it looks like he has been killed that everything starts dissolving. You hear Ganondorf's voice echoing first from his head and then from the rest of the room as he is describing all of this stuff and taunting Link. But the overall feeling of, good job, but please, you're nowhere near my level, that kind of stuff. And it is only at this point that Saria is able to utilize enough power by herself to burst free. I would imagine most of the conversation that we have in the Chamber of the Sages here actually happens in this room. But because she is a sage and teleportation can more feasibly be a thing here, I would be okay with it happening in either location. Either they have it here as we have it, or they have it in the temple. Link has to walk out of the temple on his own, with everything much better than it was, obviously, and then making his way back to the Kokiri Forest and the Deku Tree and all of that stuff. The conversation, of course, needs to be a little bit more fleshed out, but the sentiment is here. Thank you for coming. I always believed in you. I wanted to tell you for so long, but... And sorry would stop him. Because it can never be. So Saria would grant her blessing to Link, and Link, of course, would be a little personally shattered. But he would move on. So depending on where this conversation happens, it could happen here, and then he's teleported straight back to the Kokiri Forest, or it takes place in the temple. The temple, as they are talking, regains light and vivacity, and it's no longer a pit of demons, and he is able to safely make his way out, back through the Sacred Forest Meadow, and back to Kokiri Forest, where everyone is already feeling a whole lot better. Everyone is celebrating. Mito is already back. They ask Link if they were able to find Saria. He says yes, but there's something very important she needs to do. Taking care of the forest. Then they're like, oh, that explains. And then they would show Link the sprout of the Deku Tree, which then does this. And the Kokiri are obviously super, super happy about this, as they now have a new Deku Tree. So there's a whole celebration. The Kokiri absolutely love their new big brother friend from outside, because they've never seen an adult before, ever. It's after some time when Link and Navi are able to have a full-on conversation by themselves with the new Deku Tree. And this conversation comes up, of course. The Deku Tree Sprout is definitely their own character, but I kind of think of it like Nahida in Genshin Impact. They have... The Deku Tree Sprout is a very young at heart kind of deal, but has access to all of the wisdom and knowledge of its predecessor. So he is able to tell Link the story of how he came to the Kokiri Forest. Which I have no problem being basically how it is in here. We would definitely have a more fleshed out backstory. We would see his mother and the child wandering in. All the Kokiri most likely would have been like hiding. Only coming out when it was clear that they meant no harm. The Deku Tree would have had her brought, both of them brought to him. And maybe not this was a child of destiny, but there's something about this child. Yes, we will care for him. Which is kind of funny that no one ever mentioned to Link what it was like to care for him as a baby. That must have been an interesting predicament. Unless, I mean, they may have just thought he was a Nukokiri. In fact, that's probably what it was. The Deku-Tree told them all to say, this is our new resident. Treat him well, and they just like, oh, okay, Nukokiri, perfect. Because they didn't know anything else. And that is where we are going to leave our story for the night. Everyone, thank you all so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Thanks especially to you, Daisy, for being such an active contributor in our storytelling. I hope everybody who's been hanging around in the background has enjoyed the story that we are weaving here. Anybody who's watching on YouTube, leave some comments. I do want to see what you're thinking about, which reminds me, I forgot to mention a comment someone had left in regards to the Stout Children in Hyrule Field. It was a really funny exchange. The idea of Link having to deal with Stout Children out there initially, and then eventually just being like, okay, more Stout Children. Oh my gosh. And so I took that to be like, ah, yes. The first night, Link is running around crazy, being chased by Stout Children. Then, like, skip ahead 3 weeks. Link is lying in the middle of Hyrule Field, just sleeping. One starts coming up, and now he's like, Link. And then, like, without opening his eyes, Link grabs his sword, stabs it, puts it down, and then keeps on sleeping. It's a great idea, and I loved it. Yeah, I did. So we had Joanne, Amy, Beth, and... oh crap, what was the fourth one? I've already lost it. I looked at it. Oh well, I'll look at it again later. Shout out to the Post Sisters! And shout out to all of you. Have yourselves a wonderful night, and I hope to see you all real soon. Somewhere out there. Meg, that was it. Somewhere out there in the multiverse.